Have you ever wondered what actually turns a simple promise, something you say to a friend, into a legally binding pact? It's a great question. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the essential rules that transform casual words into an agreement the law will actually enforce.
So let's start at the very beginning. We're going to explore the fundamental building blocks of contract law, and we'll kick things off with the most important question of all.
Right? What is it? What's that magic line that separates a casual statement from something you could actually get sued over? And this isn't just some philosophical debate. This is the absolute heart of contract law.
And here's a really simple way to see how the law draws that line. On one side, you've got a social promise. You say, I'll take a friend to lunch. Look, it's a moral thing to do. You probably should do it, but no one's dragging you to court if you forget. But on the other side, a legal promise. The second you click buy online, you are making a binding promise to pay. Now that's a promise the law takes very, very seriously.
And that leads us right to the official definition. A contract is basically a promise where, if someone breaks it, the law actually provides a solution, what they call a remedy. To put it simply, it's an agreement that a court can enforce. It's a promise with legal teeth.
So why do we even need all this? Well, because contract law is pretty much the bedrock of our entire economy. It makes sure that when you make a deal, you can actually count on it. It gives us the stability and predictability that lets businesses and all of us make plans, buy stuff, and sell services with some confidence.
Okay, so what exactly are the ingredients you need to cook up an enforceable contract? Let's take a look at the recipe.
Now, it's not as complex as you might think, but here's the catch. Every single one of these ingredients is absolutely required. If you miss just one, you don't have a valid contract. Simple as that.
And here they are. You need agreement, consideration, contractual capacity, and legality. Just think of it as a 4-point checklist. Let's quickly break down what each of these really means.
First up is agreement. That's the classic offer and acceptance. Someone offers a deal, the other person accepts it. Then you need consideration, which is just a fancy way of saying both sides have to give and get something of value. It's the this for that. Third is capacity, which just makes sure everyone involved is legally able to make a deal. Not a minor or someone who is mentally incapacitated. And finally, legality. The whole point of the contract has to be legal. Pretty straightforward, right? You can't have a valid contract to go rob a bank.
All right, now that we know the basic recipe, let's go out into the wild and see how these ingredients combine to form the different kinds of contracts we bump into every day, sometimes without even knowing it.
The two big categories you'll hear about are bilateral and unilateral. A bilateral contract is what we usually think of. It's a promise for a promise. You promise to pay for your new phone, and the company promises to give it to you. The deal is done when you both make those promises. A unilateral contract, on the other hand, is a promise for an act. The best example is a lost dog poster with a reward. The owner isn't asking for your promise to find the dog. The deal is only accepted when someone actually performs the act, when they show up at the door with the dog.
Now, this is where things can get a little tricky and kind of dramatic. Imagine this. Seiko offers to buy Jin's sailboat, but only if Jin sails it all the way to a dock that's hundreds of miles away. It's a classic unilateral offer. It can only be accepted by performance. So Jin gets the boat ready and starts sailing.
So picture it. Jin's been sailing for days. He can literally see the dock, and then he gets a call from Seiko saying, hey, never mind, deal's off. Under the old rules, since Jin hadn't technically completed the act yet, Seiko could just revoke the offer. I mean, that sounds incredibly unfair, doesn't it?
And this is a perfect example of how the law can evolve to be more fair. Today, the rule is much better. Once Jin has substantially undertaken the performance, meaning he's already done most of the sailing, Seiko can't just pull the rug out from under him. The law now protects the person who has already started to act on that promise.
Contracts can also be either express or implied. An express contract is the obvious one. All the terms are laid out in words, whether you say them out loud or write them down. But an implied contract is different. It's formed by your actions. Think about it. When you go to the doctor, you don't usually sign a piece of paper that says you promise to pay. Your conduct, just showing up and asking for their services, creates an implied contract that you're going to pay for them. Okay, so what happens once you actually have a contract? How do courts figure out what it all means? Well, this is where the specific language you use becomes absolutely everything.
The single most important rule here is called the plain meaning rule, and it's pretty much what it sounds like. It says that if the words in a written contract are clear, a court is going to enforce that clear meaning.
They won't try to guess your hidden intentions or listen to what you meant to say. The words on the page rule, period. And let's see how this plays out in a really high-stakes, real-world example. This one involves the producers of that iconic 70s TV show, Charlie's Angels, and a profit-sharing deal with the actor Robert Wagner.
So here's the deal. Years after the show, 2 big Charlie's Angels movies came out. Wagner argued that his contract, which gave him 50% of the profits from the series, should also apply to these new movies. But the studio, Columbia Pictures, said no way. An entire multi-million-dollar dispute came down to the legal meaning of that one word, series. And what did the court do? It applied the plain meaning rule. They looked at the contract and found the language was unambiguous, it was perfectly clear, and its terms simply did not extend to any future films. The studio won. It's such a powerful lesson. The specific, precise wording of the contract was everything.
Whew, okay, we have covered a lot of ground, so what are the big things you should really take away from all this?
Let's just boil it down. First, a contract turns a simple promise into a legal duty. To do that, you always need those 4 key ingredients: agreement, consideration, capacity, and legality. Remember that contracts can be formed not just by what you say, but also by what you do. And finally, as that Charlie's Angels case just showed us, every single word matters.
And why does any of this matter to you? Because you are dealing with contracts all day, every day. Buying your morning coffee? That creates a contract. Clicking I agree on a website's terms of service? Yep, that creates a contract too. They are a fundamental and totally unavoidable part of modern life.
So I'll leave you with this to think about. Just from the moment you woke up this morning, maybe scrolled through your phone, to right now, how many contracts have you already become a part of today? I bet if you really think about it, the answer's gonna surprise you.